All right, had a good work day in regards to just the rep count numbers. You know, what situation we put guys with in throughout the course of the scrimmage. You thought it was a really good day by our defense. You know, they did a good job of you know, really flying around to the ball, being very aggressive in their approach. You know, I thought you saw, you know, speed, athleticism. You know, those guys really you know, building upon and building confidence in what they're being asked to do. You know, I thought we were a lot cleaner and different aspects of our coverage. You know, behind some of the pressures. I thought the guys were good. You know, definitely, you know, squeezing run lanes. You know, there were some big hits, and you know, we were able to create a couple takeaways through the air again, which, you know, it was you know, it's something we got to continue to work on there offensively and to clean up. But you know, also you got to give credit when guys, you know, go out there and make really impressive plays. And we had offensively had a few guys out, you know, on the O line and receiver position, so we were a little thin there today. With, you know, had limited numbers, but you know, it's still opportunities for guys that want more, that are pushing for more, to go show exactly where they are. And you know, there were some good and some bad that you know, shows the areas of improvement and areas that you gotta continue to grow. And you know, at the end of the day, that's what makes these scrimmages so important for us. Great in evaluation. You know, they're great for guys to go out there and have to be able to react without a coach, you know, there by them, or you know, also being able to sequence, you know, elements of the play series, red zone, you know, where you are in the field zones. You know, making sure that we're building that football IQ that's an absolute necessity. You know, I thought there were some good situations, good responses, you know, really on both sides. You know, obviously with the quarterbacks, I go back and watch it all. There's some highs and lows, but you know, with those guys, you know, all three of them being athletic, you know, guys, we're trying to be smart with them. There's probably some plays they could have extended, and then, you know, obviously there's some plays that you know, kind of limit just a little bit in what they could do, and you know, with extending plays and all things like that. So you know, I thought it was a good day. Like I said, defense, I felt you definitely had the upper hand throughout it, and you know, it's good to see that continued progression.
Ira in the third row.
What row?
What did you?
You're normally in the second row, right?
It seems like the returning linebackers seem like they're grasping this defense pretty well. You feel like?
I do, and it's you know, I like watching that group work together, and that is a you know, a room that, you know, we need to continue to take, you know, big steps in, and I'm seeing a great response. And you know, for guys that are returning, you see the confidence, you see the work that they put in. You know, I think Stephon has been awesome in that room, because you know, he's a guy that has a lot of experience, but he's such a good you know, young man, and trying to help build his teammates while still, you know, I think he's looking as good as he's looked you know, throughout his career. Just with his movements, he's back to being fully healthy. He had a knee issue a few years ago, and just in the recovery of it. But you know, I think he's doing a great job, and so you feel the cohesiveness of that group, you feel the competition in that group, and you know, when you're playing you know, a great number of plays with you know, 3 guys out there on the field, you know, it takes that versatility, and so you know, it is a versatile group that can do a lot of different things, and I like how they're working together.
I'll go Brendan here in the front.
What's about the secondary's play today, and specifically if I can ask about Christian White and just his impact, the way teammates reacted when he makes a big play?
Yeah, you know, Christian is a young man that's been a part of the program for years. Has made some special teams plays. We've had a couple guys, you know, go down in the secondary, which provides opportunities for him. And what I love is that, I mean, he's just one of those guys. It doesn't matter what position. I mean, we have, you know, 3 safety positions, and he's worked to be prepared at any one of them. So if there's a need, he's ready to answer the call. And today, you know, made a really nice play. You know, like him to be in a little bit better position. You know, at first, you know, we got behind him at first, but man, he showed great recovery speed and being able to go attack the ball to create an interception. You know, but he's a guy that you really you're cheering for just because of the work ethic and the type of young man he is, and it's good to see him. You're working to make the most of his opportunities.
All right, Liam, second row.
Along the defensive line, there was some disruption, and then KJ in particular. I think he had a stretch on one drive where he's just in the backfield every play. What did you see from him today?
Yeah, KJ's a guy we've challenged, and it's just the consistency of you see the athleticism, you feel the explosiveness, just continuing to take that next step of just the consistency of the physicality of being active in the run game, and he's taking ownership of that, and that's You've got a guy that's still relatively young in his overall experience, but now this is the year going into third year. You want to see a big step, and throughout the course of spring, I thought today was a really good day for him, and he's had some good moments. He had some challenging moments where I think T Knight's doing a nice job with that group, and there's plenty of competition there, and he responded the right way today, so that was definitely positive to see.
All right, we'll go to Jordan, third row on the left.
Coach, you mentioned offensively some highs and lows just coming off the field. What do you like, but also what are you trying to see improvement on?
Yeah, I thought there was, you see a variety of different guys, getting, opportunities, and there's, some of the young guys. You see, just the work, the growth, the understanding. I think our tight end position is continuing to elevate itself and being able to do multiple things. Like I said, we had some receivers that were down today, so really put a little bit more emphasis on them and their opportunity to impact. I know Randy Pittman had a couple big plays. You see, Chase is somebody that when he's out there, it doesn't feel too fast for him. Doesn't feel, he's still learning. Marquiston, I've been pleased with him, and then obviously Landon is a guy we got high expectations for his continued growth, and I think all those guys are showing some real positive signs. I thought there were some good runs when the opportunities presented itself there at running back. That you see the toughness. I always want to see that position moving forward. You felt Jalen Lucas's explosiveness today. He's another guy that you want to see good things from. I think Elijah Moore, still coming along at receiver. It's just the consistency for him. Boggs. Some guys that we need to step up. I think are really pushing. I think this next week, probably the next 6 days, we'll get opportunity to see Squirrels right there at it to be able to get back. He got some practice this week. You feel his explosiveness. Jalen Brown was out today, so he should be back here in the next couple of days. Lawayne, guys that we're counting on it. Deuce was out today, so when you go through and you really kind of take that next step of into the depth, you want to see, who's ready for the moment, who's ready to go, put themselves out there and capitalize on those plays. So, I thought there's like I said, there's some good, but we just need to continue to maximize those plays that some of these guys are getting, and be able to go produce when the ball comes to you.
All right, we'll go to Taylor, back row on the right.
Coach, I wasn't here during the spring of last year, but the defense seemed pretty cohesive today, as you were talking about. Where do you see the defensive cohesiveness compared to this time last year?
It's a new system. It's a lot of moving pieces in it. I really like the personnel variations that Coach White is developing and growing within this group, and so they're putting in the work. And we have our limitations for how many hours we can be around them throughout the course of the week. But these are guys that they're coming in, they're meeting together, they're spending extra time. We do have guys at multiple levels. James Williams is I know I talked about Stephon, but James has been outstanding for that defensive front. You see guys, Darryl Jackson's such a smart football player, and he's learned it. Now he's trying to bring along some of those young players that really have a chance, I think, to make an impact. And so when you see that investment, you see that growth, and I think Coach Sertan, Coach Cooper in the defensive backfield, there's so many moving pieces there, but you saw a big step from last week to this week, where it wasn't just the explosive play that was showing up. You saw you saw guys getting out there and being in the right position, getting an opportunity to make open field tackles. I thought that was something that was improved from a week ago, and we got to continue to build upon that. But that was definitely a big step.
All right, we'll go Corey, third row on the right.
Kind of a two-parter. First, Kevin Sperry, did 2 for 1 here. You knew he was athletic, obviously, but until you see him in front of you against other D1 athletes, is there any surprise at all at just how fast and athletic he moves? And then fine line between wanting to showcase him and Tommy and their ability to scramble and extend plays and maybe turn a sack into a 40-yard run, but also whistling it dead, so.
It's a fair, I mean, spring is always like that. Scrimmages are always like that. I mean, there'll probably be an opportunity where I'm gonna give Kevin a chance to go show it. With freshman quarterbacks, I think that's one of the biggest things of, before you ever find yourself out in the game, what does that look like? What does it feel like? It is a different speed. It definitely, I don't think it moves too fast for him in any way. You see the reactions. He's done a good job, man. And I mean, to answer the first part of your 2-for-1 question was the speed. I knew he could run. You feel the athleticism, the twitch, and the explosiveness that, it's exciting. And so, I think you look at all those guys. Obviously everybody knows. Tommy has the athletic ability. I think Brock's done a really good job. He had a couple, big opportunities where he was able to extend a play or go through his read and force the defense to account for him. So I like the room and how they're handling the different things that we asked them to do in a passing game and as well in the run game. And so I just continue to build upon it.
Kurt, front row.
You talked about the receiver room being a bit depleted at the moment, but obviously that can't be an excuse for the quarterbacks. They kind of have to go perform with who they have. I guess, how did you see them in the passing game today with maybe a depleted room distribute the ball?
Well, I mean, I thought they did a good job of taking what they were given at times, and then there were some missed opportunities. There was a couple of really good balls that we put downfield that we got to either come up with or there's one vertical shot where we just overthrew the receiver by a little bit. That those plays that we just, you got to, it's the timing, it's rhythm, it's making sure that guys are growing together throughout the course of practice, because those ones you can't leave out there on the field. And so, but you get a chance to go and watch it again, and it becomes so much to the details part of it. If there's times where quarterbacks trying to throw in rhythm and time, but if there's we might be a step too deep or a step too short, or making sure that we're always where we need to be, or the quarterback has to make a quick adjustment based off of a defensive look, and just trust in the things that you see and really let it come to you. So we'll go back and watch it and kind of put together our best assessment as we move forward.
All right, next will be Brendan here on the front.
When we spoke to Coach White last week, it seemed like a lot of the talking points were response, belief, like just guys not putting their heads down after maybe a bad rep or two. As you've seen them progress this week, performance-wise, like what have you seen from that aspect?
I mean, I think it's defense. It's a football team, and I mean that's something that we've really tried to push, encourage, challenge, put guys in those situations just to see what the reality is going to be. Because everybody can say the word response. Sounds good. But what's the action look like? What is it when it doesn't feel good? When it's hot? When things are going against you? When you've had a couple bad plays? Where do you go in that moment with your response? And what identity is being put on display? And I think that's still. It's always a work in progress, because you always want to push to be better. And but I do think that's something that this team is embracing. I think that obviously Coach White and the defense staff, as well as Coach Miles on the offensive staff, something that they are pushing, and that they are really demanding for us to be able to be confident, regardless of maybe what the last play, the last series, maybe even the last quarter or half would look like. You gotta go get the job done, and it's you sit there and you go into like a part of the way we ended practice or the end of the scrimmage today was with an overtime situation, and the defense did a great job throughout the course of the scrimmage, in limiting some of the different things, but the last you get to the first overtime, offense was able to execute extremely well and scored a touchdown on the first play, and that's. No, it might be a 3-3 game going into overtime. It's still the next play. You might not have had anything go well for you, but you got to go put one out there. And offense did a good job of that response there in overtime, and obviously an opportunity for that that first that group that was out there defensively. I mean, this is where we can be better, and you you got each play is trusting your eyes, trusting what you see, and go and execute in that moment. So because you're going to see games that go both ways. It might be really good offensively, might be really good defensively. Just whatever situation calls for, you got to be ready to answer that call.
We've got time for two more. We'll go to Ira.
It seemed like there were a number of plays where guys maybe weren't at the point of attack but made the hit, like, either running plays down or moving sideline to sideline. If you like that,
I do. I mean, it's the speed, the speed that we're showing defensively. I mean, I really like, and part of that comes with the open field tackles, and making sure that we're taking the right angles, that we're tracking, that when we get there, we're coming with the right intentions too. And that's I felt that throughout the course of today, and it was something that was encouraging to see. And I saw, Randy Pittman had a great play out on the perimeter where he ran through a defender, and it's just a mindset and approach of how to go about when you get the ball in your hands, and then obviously if you're in space, trusting all the things that you're working fundamentally to be able to put yourself in a position to go get the ball down.
All right, Corey, last one.
There weren't a lot of maybe big runs in this scrimmage, but how important are those 3 to 6, 7-yard runs, man? I feel like you had a lot of those.
Yeah, no, and that's a good observation throughout it. I mean, those are the plays that can really make this go. And because, yes, we love the explosive plays. We're going to have them. They're going to be the big runs. They're going to show up. But, and I kind of mentioned this a little bit with the running back, like when you get tackled, when you are in position to be tackled, which direction are you going? I mean, you might get hit at 2, but if you can get to 3 or 4, man, that's huge, because that's where you can continue to push the tempo. That's where you can allow tempo to be, obviously a tremendous asset for you. But it's if you're behind the chains, and you got to go get that first down to be able to get things kind of cranked up with it. And those 3 to 6 yard runs are critical. And everybody loves the long touchdown runs, and we're going to have them. But to get it established, to be putting yourself in the best situation, 2nd, 3rd down, you got to be able to have those those go-to calls, and being able to see that type of production, that kind of push is important.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Thank you, guys. Y'all have a great weekend.
You too.